Hey friend, welcome to Bible Tract Echoes. I'm Micah McCurry, your host. Today, I'm going to share the microphone with Weston Colvin. Weston is a young man, about 20 years old or so, that works here at BTI, Bible Tracts Incorporated. He's a model employee, does a great job, and he does some design work and things like that. But Weston, not long ago, went through some very difficult things. I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about it. We began yesterday with him sharing. This is a message that he preached to some young people at a camp in Australia. He got to preach alongside me, did a great job, and God truly used him. I don't just say that to throw flowers, laurels. It's true. Today we're going to pick back up where we left off. Weston, as we jump in, is coming to grips with what might happen to his father. His father is laid in a hospital bed, close to death. As Weston talks to these teenagers, he is going to tell a story that crosses cultural boundaries. You see, Weston doesn't have an Aussie accent. No, he was a stranger to Australia. This was within the first couple of days of us being there. He was able to come along on a trip there not long ago. It was a work trip, a ministry trip. But as he speaks, this story, you can tell this story grabbed every single person listening. And now I offer you that same opportunity. Would you please listen to this young man being used of God to share his heart?
As he was in the hospital, things started to get worse, and things started to take a turn down a road that you didn't want him to go on. And it started to set in that, he might not be okay. And I was in 10th grade at the time. And, as a young man, I was trying to hide everything that was going on. And I was trying to keep it all inside and not let anyone know that I was having a hard time, especially to my mom, because I'm supposed to be a strong young man, take care of my mom, and so I'd try to act all hard and callous to what was going on, but really I was struggling with, what am I going to do if this does happen? Like I've in a sense I depended on him and my church for all the spirituality that I claimed to have up to that point. If I lost him, then I would have to decide if I was gonna stick around to do this church thing, right? And so through that, God really worked on my heart, and basically I came to realize that, and I knew I had drifted away, but I never come to terms with the fact that I needed to take care of it, that I needed to come back, that I needed to get right with God. And so after my dad had been in the hospital about a month and a half, he ended up passing away on June 1st, 2021. And obviously that's a very hard thing. And I don't think I could ever get over it. But by the grace of God, I've come to terms as much as you can with it. And for a while, I don't know that I blamed it on myself to a certain point, because I knew he was sick. It's not like I was driving and then we got hit or anything like that. But I thought, what if God allowed this to happen because he needed to get my attention? And I don't know if that's why it happened, but I do know that he used it to get my attention. And to a certain point, that I don't know if it would have happened either way. I like to think that it's not my fault, obviously, because that just makes me feel better. But what I do know is that God had a plan through it. And it's not the easiest thing to communicate or to share. But what I do know is that I wouldn't be in church anymore if it hadn't happened. I know that. I wouldn't I wouldn't have been right with God. I wouldn't have the relationship I have with my mom. I wouldn't be in Bible college, studying to be in the ministry someday. And I think that one thing, obviously, I had a good relationship with my dad. I really did. Me and my dad were not the most vocal people. I'm sure you noticed throughout this week that I don't talk a lot. I'm very reserved and trying to figure out what's going on before I open up. And my dad was even stronger in that way. He was even more reserved than I am. My dad is the smartest man I've ever met, probably. He actually got saved at around the age of 20. He ended up coming on a bus route, which is how we met my mom through church. And he was a spiritual leader that I needed. And obviously, he didn't grow up in church necessarily, like I said. But I needed his harsh, if you will, his tough love, because I'm very hard-headed. I needed to be yelled at. I needed to be told that I was dumb, because I am still. But me and my dad were very blunt. We don't really know how to say things gracefully, if you will. But I needed that in my life, and I think I took that for granted as well. And I didn't realize that until, he was gone. And in a way, no one should have to deal with what I've had to deal with, but it still happened. And I still had to go through that, and I still had to come out on the other side, hopefully with the intent to serve God. And that is what happened. I'm very grateful for it. But I wish that, if you will, that I became who I am while my dad was still around. And I know I was still a kid. I was just as old as you guys. But that's not an excuse. It's not an excuse for why I hadn't drawn closer to God and why I hadn't learned to be who I needed to be. And it's horrible and it's awful that this happened, but it's horrible and awful that I wasn't who I was supposed to be either. And it's a shame that it took something this drastic or this painful or sad to get my attention. But like I said, I'm hard-headed, and I needed something like that. And maybe later on, something else would have happened instead to where God got my attention. That maybe wasn't so harsh or sudden, if you will. I keep saying that. But I know that it's the best thing, but outside of salvation, it's really the best thing that's ever happened to me. Not because of what it was or because my dad passed away. Obviously, that's not a good thing. But sometimes the best things that could ever happen to you are the hardest things. And we don't realize it when you're in the middle of it because it's not fun. It's a very hard thing to deal with. And I'm sure that, like Brother Micah talked about in his messages, that you guys have been through very real things in your own lives. And I don't know if any of you have lost a parent or if any of you maybe lost a sibling or anyone super close to you, but I would guess that probably some of you have. And that's obviously a very hard thing to deal with, but there's a reason that it happens. In the car right here, the lady who drove us, she said something that I've heard my mom say a million times, but she said that she was telling a story and she referenced that it gives purpose to your pain. And now I realize that that's what God used it for. And so my main thought that I want to talk about today, preach about, and share with you is just to not wait to do what you know you need to do. And I know, I'm sure there's some of you that are like 10, 11, 12 years old, and you think that you have your entire, in reality, you do have your entire teenage life in front of you. You have roughly your whole life in front of you, as pretty much I do, hopefully. We don't know that. At work, we've been talking about where we want to be in 10 years down the road. But in order for that to become a reality, in order for us to reach a long-term goal, we have to have a goal somewhere in the middle. So we try to have a 5-year plan, and then a 1-year plan. And then if you get it down to 1 year, you can put that in chunks or in segments of how you can reach your goal for 1 year, and that'll put you on track to reach your goal for 10 years. And I know that when I was 12 or however old you are, I didn't care about what I was doing at 22. I'm 12. I want to be 12. I want to go play basketball. I want to go, well, I guess for you guys play soccer and volleyball apparently. I don't know what's up with that. But I wanted to have fun. I was saved, like I said, but I could have cared less. I wanted to grow up. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to eat ice cream. I wanted to do the things that teenagers do and tell stories about and say how dumb they were. And then basically God made me grow up to a certain point. And I shouldn't have waited. I shouldn't have paused long enough in my life for that to need to happen.
I wonder, what are you waiting for to confront those hard things? Weston just shared with us so powerfully, and he will continue to tomorrow. You need to tune in. The culmination of this message will be tomorrow. Weston wasn't long-winded. He said what God had for him to say, and he stepped down. Tomorrow will be the practical application of what we all need to hear. But I wonder, what are you waiting for today? Is there some hard thing you're waiting to do? Does God have your attention? Now, if you would like to pass along a kind word to Weston for his remarkable delivery of this thought, and again, you'll hear more tomorrow, please feel free to text me and I'll pass it along to him. You can text me at 309-316-7240. Again, that's 309-316-7240. Praise God. Sometimes the hardest things can be the best things. We're going to continue with this theme of don't wait with Weston Colvin tomorrow. Have a great day for His glory. God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to Bible Tract Echoes, the radio ministry of Bible Tracts Incorporated. Want to see our gospel tracts and other resources? Visit us online at BibleTractsInc.org. That's BibleTractsInc.org. Or follow us on social media to learn how you can partner with this ministry. Thanks again for listening. May the Lord richly bless you as you live for Him.